Hello guys, and welcome to another Roflog. It's Josh here. Well, quite obviously it's Josh here. Oh, that was a rubbish introduction. Anyway, welcome to another Roflog. Let me firstly apologise that I haven't posted one for a couple of weeks. It's been one of those times in life, I'm sure you guys have it as well, that just loads of stuff happens and I've got so much work. Like, it's just crazy at the moment. But I'm still doing Rof, as always, and when it comes down to, like, I look at my day and I'm like, right, I've got 3 hours spare here. Do I spend that doing a Roflog, or do I spend it animating? And of course I'll always choose animation, because I'm sure while you love watching Roflogs and listening to me talk, we're all here for the actual animation, so that's been a priority. So the good news is I am on the second to last shot of episode 2 of 1.5, and I hope to finish that on Thursday. So that means then obviously what happens is I hand it over to the sound designers and the musicians, and then they get it back to me early May, and then we get it online for you guys. But what I wanted to do today was just to give you like a really quick overview as to how the animation works. So what I'll do, I'll just open up, and this isn't a tutorial, and I know I'm going to do a tutorial at some point, but I started doing one. I started doing one a while ago, about 3 weeks ago actually, and it was just like really simple, like how to make Ludwig. But you have to make tutorials from the point of view of like that you're talking to somebody that's never used any of the software before. And I was like having to cover so much basic stuff. I was just like, wow, this is going to take like all day, and I just didn't have time because I got to finish the episode. So I will get to it. But I'll just give you a quick overview of how it works. So I make the character in Adobe Illustrator. Now Adobe Illustrator is great because you can do vector artwork. Now vector artwork means that you can zoom in to any sort of level, and where's my zoom? There we go, there's my hotkey. So you can zoom into any level and you see it doesn't get pixelated. The edges still stay sharp. So that's quite a handy thing about vector artwork. So we make it, we make all the characters in Illustrator. Now what you have to do to animate them, they all have to be on separate layers, because obviously, let's say that his head and his hair and his eyes were all like locked into one layer. I couldn't animate them separately. So if you actually see, we got like an eyebrow as a separate layer, a nose as a separate layer, an eye, other eyebrow, other eye, ear, hair top, hair bottom. So that's so his hair can wiggle. Obviously that's new to 1.5. We didn't have that before. We've got like normal mouth head size, and then when his mouth opens, we've got it a little bit bigger, and then a bit bigger like that as well. Okay, so that's just a very subtle thing, but just so we can animate. Then you got his forearm, his upper arm, his torso, left hand upper. That's when he's sort of holding something. Left arm upper, right foot, left foot. Then I use these as sort of guides. Obviously you don't see them in the final thing, but I use them as guides just so his legs don't like start floating off and it becomes unrealistic. So once you've got all of those layers, and yeah, it's a bit frustrating having to build on lots of different layers, but it's worth it. Then you save it, then you import it into After Effects. Adobe After Effects is what I do. And you rig him up, and I think I showed you rigs when I was rebuilding all the characters. But what you do then is you sort of build a scene. Now this is what our scene looks like. This is one of the final bits of episode 2, where Arilinn's having quite a stern conversation with Colin, who's taking life quite easy. But what we sort of do, it's a bit like a Sonic the Hedgehog level in that it's all quite 2D. So this view here is like a top-down view, and you see all of these like horizontal layers going across the scene. All of those like a wall or a bed or the table. If I like move the camera around, let's move it back slightly as well. Oh, wrong way. So you see, like his cottage is like it's in 3D space, in that you see like the camera's actually moving back and forward and stuff. But each thing's flat. Like, you know, the table, for example, is just flat. It's not like we can rotate around the table and we'll see a different angle. The table is just flat, like the Sonic the Hedgehog. So that's sort of how we do it, because it looks sort of nice, and it's, you know, quite easy to work with. So then once I've sort of built the scene in terms of the location, what I then do is create a sort of separate composition. Now, composition is sort of like where you stick, you know, different layers and stuff. And I always call it hero. I don't know why, I guess because the heroes are in it. And it means that I can sort of animate them interacting with each other without all this gumph in the background. Because the thing is, when you're trying to preview it, when I press like play, you see it just goes really Now, I don't know if you can hear that deep sound. Sounds like somebody growling. That's actually playing the Colin's audio track, because it obviously slows down in the way it's playing it. So it's so slow that if I want to preview anything, it's just not practical. So what I do, I make sure I work in this hero composition layer, so then I can just sort of test how they're talking to each other, and you know, whether they're looking at each other right and stuff like that. And obviously I drag hero into the main composition there. So if I disable the hero layer here, boom, there you go. Okay, so that's sort of not like a nice way to work. So if I double click on that, it'll take me through. But then inside each hero layer, I've then got the rigged up character. Now the reason I sort of keep them as separate entities is because if you look, Colin has 40 layers. Okay, that's 40 different moving parts that I need to worry about. So if you imagine a scene with him and Shadows and Gundalf and stuff, if you had them all fully rigged up in the same composition, you'd be looking at like 200-300 layers, and it's just an absolute nightmare. So what I do, you see you've got Colin there, like Arilinn there. Now I have the text above their heads. Oddly, I don't keep the text as part of their composition. And the simple reason for that is because I have lighting effects. So let's just zoom in on Colin so you can see. So he's lying underneath his window in the main composition. If you just have a look again, yeah, you see his window's there. He's lying underneath it. So what we want to have light from the window on him. So I've got light enabled there. And if I disable it, you'll be able to see now. You see? On and off. Now this light applies, it's not perfect, but it's okay, and it applies light to everything that's in the sort of Colin composition here. Now the problem is that if his text was in the composition here, it would get like this weird light effect on it as well. And you know, you guys have played WoW, you know that the names above heads in WoW don't have lighting effects on them, they're just like plain colour. So yeah, I just want to try and make it look as WoW as possible, so that's why that's separate. Yeah, so that's sort of how it works. Now let me show you the most painful part of it. Okay, so this is what we've done. So I've got this. I'll open up the... Actually, I won't open up because you'll get glimpses of the episode. I don't want to spoil it for you. But what I do, I cut together the actors talking to each other in Adobe Premiere, just so I can, you know, check that it's natural, good timing and stuff. Then I export that as like a WAV file and just bring it into After Effects. And then what I usually do, his mouth layer is here. So I always just get the audio in and just bring it next to the mouth layer. Now you see the waveforms here. You know, anybody that's ever done sound, you'll see this is like, you know, obviously the sound. So if I play it.
In fact, there's a whole section on the Rof forums called...
Okay, so Colin's talking now. So we can see, you know, there's waveforms and he's talking. So now what I have to do, which is absolutely painstaking, and this bit I'm really not looking forward to, because if you look how long this now this isn't just Colin talking, this is like a whole dialogue scene between them both. It starts at what, about 13 seconds, and it goes through to about 1 minute 18. So this is like a minute, over a minute worth of dialogue here. Okay, so then what you have to do, I scan through. So if I just show you what the mouths look like, if I double click, and so again, there's compositions within compositions here. So each mouth composition, if I double click on that, these are all the different mouth shapes. So you got mouth for A, E, and I. So you know, if you look at the way your mouth works in a mirror, when you've got A, E, I, that's sort of this shape. Then O and U is this one. Then sort of hard sounds like consonants, like S, K, C, H, G, T, Z is like these. So I have those. Then R is sort of its own sound. L, where the tongue hits the teeth. M, B, P. TH when you go th. I spat over my monitor then. I got F and V for the next one. Then W, W, Q. And then you've sort of got like... Now, I found in Season 1 we didn't have this shape. And this is A, E and I as well. But it's when the character's a bit unhappy. Because the problem is in Season 1, even if they're really unhappy, this mouth shape is just a happy shape. So what I did, I created this one as well, so they can still say A, E and I if they're unhappy, and it sort of matches their facial expression a bit more. Then we got like a grimace, a normal smile, an open smile, and an unhappy thing. So all of that, and obviously I think I showed you the eyes already, but the eyes are very similar. So you got eye open, half shut, completely shut, half up, completely up, narrow 1, narrow 2, open 1, open 2, like crying 1, crying 2, closed, and dead. So each character's got all of those. So what I do, right, is I start scrubbing through. Now scrubbing means like playing, it's like dragging the playhead here, but while you can hear the sound. So I play it again just to listen to it, so I understand what he's saying. So
in fact, there's a whole section on the Rof forums.
Okay, so he says, in fact, there's a whole section on the Rof forums. So what I do, I start dragging through. Right, so the first thing he says is in, so I. So it's A, E, and I. So I click on the mouth, and I set my keyframe to 0. And you see, his mouth moves. And I'll just do that again so you can see. And notice I've programmed his chin to automatically move to whatever his mouth is as well. So if I press 0 for A, E, and I, his mouth moves. Okay, so it's I. Right, the N is about there. So then N is 6, so I press 6. Okay, so he goes in. Then we start getting the F. So press 7 there. Fact. So A, E, and I again. And I find I just copy and paste the A, E, and I one a lot because it's obviously used a lot. CH. It's not CH, CT. There. So then, if you play it.
In fact.
Okay, so he is. That's in fact. Okay, that's what's in fact. Now, if you just zoom out, this is all the stuff you've got to do. So this takes ages to do. This takes absolutely ages. So this is sort of getting a glimpse into the horrible world in which I've put myself in, where, you know, if you've got like 2 or 3 hours spare in a day, I can't make Roflogs and stuff or do anything else because I've just got loads of lip sync to do. So then what happens is, and you saw his head move there, that was just sort of a leftover keyframe from a previous composition, so I'll just erase that. I guess head's quite a natural there, there we go. Right, so once I've done all of these, and as I say, this takes like a couple of hours, I then have to keyframe his animation. So I always do lips first because I hate lips the most, so I get them out of the way first. And then you do his head. So again, it's very similar. You sort of play what he's doing.
In fact, there's a whole...
So I think, right, well, if he's sort of in bed and Arilinn's annoying him a bit, I don't think his eyes should be open like that. So I'm going to select both eyes and press 1, which is I've sort of half closed. Okay, and that immediately gets his attitude a bit closer to what we want it to be. Then I move his eyebrows sort of down a bit, because if they're up, they're too happy. And then let's get him like that. Let's put his arm sort of like behind his head because he's like relaxing. And maybe let's stretch his like leg out a little bit and maybe like point his toe a bit more. Something like that. So then, like everything else, I drop a keyframe for that and then move along. So again, that, animating his movements for all of this, again, takes another 2 or 3 hours. So you can see how all the time adds up. And then once that's done, you know, and that's just like 3 or 4 days work, sort of split up. Sometimes some of this stuff can take like 5 or 6 hours, depending, because this is Colin on his own. So Colin on his own will sort of take 2 or 3 hours, but then you suddenly think, well, actually, there's somebody else in the scene. We've got Arilinn to do. So then we go to Arilinn and we drag in the audio to make sure you put it by her mouth again. And then it's another minute of dialogue to do. And obviously, when Colin's speaking, I need to animate her to react to what he's saying at the same time. So if he says something stupid, she can narrow her eyes or whatever like that. So then what I do once they're done, I sort of play them together here just to make sure they're reacting to each other right. So that's just sort of thing. And then what I'll do, once it's all done, I'll choose render. Oh, press minimize. I'm using a PC keyboard on a Mac, and some of the shortcuts I still haven't completely set up properly. What's the movie shortcuts? Oh, I know. Sorry, I disabled something else. Cool. So you just go to render queue and then you render it out there once it's done. Yeah, and then it sort of ends up as a movie file. And then I'll bring it back into the editing software and put it in and sync it up with the original sound. So that's sort of just a glimpse into how it happens. Now you can imagine. Let me just show you something from the other day. So that's just 2 characters. Okay, and they're talking over about a minute. Now the first scene, this isn't really a spoiler, the first scene of 2.0 is this scene has been an absolute nightmare. This has taken most of the month to do. What you want the wide shot? So this is a scene in the Pig and Whistle. It's just loading up now, and there is so much going on here. that the computer you see is just like, so we got loads of characters. This is Gundalf's role-playing club. He's holding sort of a meeting at the role-playing club, and the cameras come along to watch. So we've got lots of our Patreon backers in there as well. We've got a new character, Jason Flint Statham, and we got somebody else as well who I won't talk much about. But yeah, so this is sort of how this would work. So you can imagine with this, I've got several hero layers. So I've got the heroes at the back. Okay, so then they're in their own composition, and again you'll see some of my Patreon backers there. Calm down. Okay, and then I've got, so those are out of the way. Then we've got sort of the main heroes here, who are in front of the screen. You see all of these. We've got Victor, Flint Statham, blah blah blah, etc. And then we've got heroes on the balcony, which includes the shadows up there. Okay. So you can imagine if Colin and Arilinn took all that time with just those two. You can imagine, because with all of these, you've got to animate them. Some of them are AFK, which is good because it saves animation, but yeah, it's taken a while to do this. But the good news is all this bit's done, and we're just onto the Colin and Arilinn bits, which are in the last sort of section. So yeah, guys, thank you for just having a glimpse inside my nightmare world, and thank you again for your patience. I'm so sorry that I'm not sort of like a bigger channel where I can't like do videos every 3 days, but as I said at the beginning, like if it's a choice between a Roflog or getting 3 hours on animation done, I'll always choose the animation, because ultimately we're here for the show itself. So guys, thank you again. Like, it was, do you know what, I really want to thank you guys as well. Last month, well actually I guess early this month, when I released episode 1, prior to that, loads of our backers had dropped out, and we'd sort of lost like over $100. But loads just shot back again. So it's been really, really good. So thank you so much for keeping us going, because at the moment, so in terms of the money we make, it's sort of about it's between sort of $680 to $700-ish dollars. And when you pay everybody, I personally end up with about $160, $170. So with the hours I'm spending sort of 2 or 3 hours a day for an entire month. That's what, 3 times 3. So I'm approximately getting like $2 an hour. Roughly, sometimes $3 an hour. Obviously, if I worked in McDonald's, it'd be like $7 or $8 an hour. So it's very, you know, we're not doing this for money, but we're doing this because we love you guys and because you guys love the show, which is great. And thank you so much, because of Patreon, at least I can, when I'm grinding, like doing a minute's worth of lip sync, at least I can say, I am being paid for this. Even though it's tiny, I am being paid for this. So it's always a good feeling instead of just doing it off my own back. So guys, thank you again so much for your support. If you haven't pledged like $1 to us, please head over to our www.patreon.com/realms of fighting, and please just chuck us $1 a month. Like, it's hardly anything if you're able to, and it just helps us to keep this going, so we get 1.5 done. But anyway, that's enough of me blabbing. I'm going to carry on lip syncing Colin and Arilinn, and I will speak to you guys soon. And I really look forward to showing you episode 2. Thank you guys.